Day. It's going to be a fun one today. We got a lot to cover, some real fun, interesting news and things that happened over the weekend. So feel free to play along. You can follow the articles that we discuss in the show notes at musicindustrycity.com. And from there, you can click on the Clubhouse information graphic, and that will give you all the links to the articles. We're going to start just a second. How you doing? Welcome to the Music News Power Hour on the Music Industry City Broadcast Network. Today we are going to talk about GRAMMYs eliminating the secret committees, Rapchat, another audio app, and Apple could be fined $27 billion. A Satanic college metal station, and England tests out a music festival, plus your daily Spotify update. It is Monday, everybody, and my co-host Eli Window has the day off, but we do have a lot to discover. So let's kick off with this day in history. All right, so this day in history, this is where we celebrate birthdays, people have passed, and we talk about some fun, interesting things that might have happened in the music world. So this day on May 3rd, 1972, Les Harvey, guitarist with Stone Crows, died after being electrocuted on stage during a gig at Swansea University in Wales. Also on this day in 2020, the Stranglers keyboard player Dave Greenfield died at the age of 71 after testing positive for coronavirus. Now, it's in the birthdays. In 1903, American singer and actor Bing Crosby, who recorded an estimated 2,600 songs in his lifetime, including White Christmas. And we also have, in May 1919, American folk singer and activist Pete Seeger. 1933, James Brown, Soul Brother #1. And in 1934, Frankie Valli, singer from American rock and pop band The Four Seasons. 1951, American singer-songwriter Christopher Cross. Yeah, there's a lot in this day, a lot of birthdays. So 1971, John Driscoll Hopkins of the Zac Brown Band. And in 1997, American rapper, singer, songwriter, and record producer, designer. All right, so this day in history, here's some fun, interesting little tidbit news that happened over this course. In 1986, The Art of Excellence by Tony Bennett became the first album in the U.S. to be initially released on CD instead of the traditional vinyl format. So that's really interesting. That's something you can go to sleep tonight knowing that tidbit of information. And in May 2004, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected an appeal by two musicians who claimed they were owed royalties from Ozzy Osbourne. Bassist Robert Daisley and drummer Lee Kerslake had fought a long-running battle since 1997 with the Osbourne family, claiming they were entitled to money from the albums Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. Sharon Osbourne, Ozzy's wife and manager, said that the pair had harassed her family and had their contributions removed from the albums because of their, quote, abusive and unjust behavior. And in 2008, rap star Sean Diddy Combs was honored with a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. And in 2017... the Eagles were suing a hotel in Mexico that calls itself the Hotel California after the band's hit song and album. The rock band claimed the 11-room hotel in Todos Santos, quote, actively encourages guests to believe it is associated with them in order to sell merchandise. They claim the hotel plays Eagles songs in the lobby and sells T-shirts describing the venue as, quote unquote, legendary. Don't mess with the Hotel California. I mean, this is one of those, hey, does the hotel promise that you can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. And with that being said, that is this day in history. And we're going to move on into news. So Eli Window has the day off. She also has tomorrow off, but she will be back on Wednesdays. The wonderful co-host. And so everybody, if there's some new faces here, what we do during the Music News Power Hour is we scour the World Wide Web for music business news that we feel should be open for discussion. And if there's something you want to chime in about, if there's a topic that we're talking about and you want to react to, have something to add, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll bring you on up to the stage. We'll also, for some people, if I don't see you come on the stage, please raise your hand, because it's just me today, and I'm going to be reading a lot, so I might not see you enter and might not be able to invite you to speak, but just feel free to raise your hand also. And let's get this going. So we are going to move into the news. All right, and kicking this off, again, if there is anything that you want to chime in about, you can raise your hand and feel free to join in the conversation. If you want to follow along at home with all the news articles that we are covering, you can get all that information from the website musicindustrycity.com. If you go to musicindustrycity.com and click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic, it'll take you to a link that will bring you to the show notes. Inside the show notes, we have all the articles that we cover, and we keep that going throughout the week, and we refresh it every Monday. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And this one is the Grammys eliminate secret nomination review committees. This is from Consequence of Sound, consequence.net, and you can find this at Billboard, Variety. It's all over the place. This one, it starts off, the anonymous committees has come under scrutiny in recent years following a series of head-scratching omissions. The Recording Academy has announced a series of reforms designed to make the Grammy Awards more transparent while reducing future controversies. Via Billboard and Variety, the biggest change is the almost total elimination of the secret nominating committees, which determine who is eligible to receive the awards. The Academy has also reduced the number of categories in which members may vote, adding 2 new categories, and rolled out a reorganization of the craft categories, which is packaging, producer, and liner notes. The secretive nomination committees has long been a point of contention, in part because since nobody knows who they are, it's easy to project malign intentions into their choices. This happened at the 2021 Grammy Awards when The Weeknd received no nominations despite having an album, After Hours, that was both well-received and a commercial juggernaut. Many people, not least The Weeknd himself, speculated that the secret committees were to blame. Sources close to the singer suggested he was shut out as an act of retaliation for playing the Super Bowl halftime show, and The Weeknd announced a Grammy boycott, explaining, quote, "Because of the secret committees, I will no longer allow my label to submit my music to the Grammys." We may never know what the committee's members were thinking, but their power is undeniable. In March, Billboard reported that, quote, rank and file Grammy voters determined the final nominees in just 12 of the 84 categories. Every other category was subject to the whims of these anonymous groups. The committee approach began in 1989 with the classical categories and was adapted by jazz soon after. Their use was greatly expanded in 1994 after those rank-and-file Grammy voters nominated opera trio The Three Tenors and lounge lizard Tony Bennett for Album of the Year while shouting out grunge and hip-hop. At the time, the committees were supposed to be a progressive force within the Academy, acknowledging popular music that the staid, old, mostly white membership wanted to ignore. But in recent years, the critique has shifted. Instead of secret committees to protect the awards from Academy voters, audience began demanding a younger, more diverse Academy membership. Now that the Academy thinks it has made enough progress on that front to remove the guardrails, Ruby Marchand, the Academy's chief industry officer, quote, "As we continue to build more active and vibrant membership, we are confident in the expertise of our voting members to recognize excellence in music each year." So this is they're saying that also the Academy has confirmed that more than 90% of its members will go through the requalification process by the end of 2021, which will ensure those voting are actively participating in music creation. These new rules will apply starting the 2022 Grammy Awards. Also, another change is that members can only vote in 10 categories, whereas before they could vote in 15. This reduction is designed to force voters to focus on their areas of expertise. While this has never been officially confirmed to their knowledge, it has been long rumored that jazz and classical voters are responsible for the missteps in major hip hop categories, as when Macklemore and Ryan Lewis beat out Kendrick Lamar for Best Rap Album in 2014. By cutting down the number of votes that members can cast, the Academy hopes the remaining votes will be of higher quality. All right, so this goes on. And again, if there's anybody that wants to chime in and has some thoughts on this, feel free to raise your hand and join in the conversation. This is a much needed overhaul for the Grammys. We'll have to wait and see. Does it fix anything? And, lots of big changes. But here is the other area that brings the focus is, the attendance. We want to talk about the attendance of the Grammys and also the Oscars. This past year, it's a year with an asterisk, but Grammys has been on the decline. So is this a way they're talking about getting younger people involved? Because you're talking about different generations and, the old boys club is over. And now they realize they have to make changes, not just because of the outcry of fans. It's the numbers of when you're talking about sponsorship dollars for a television show. So this is something that I'm sure they are taking very into account, considering the type of money that also is generated from that. All right. And in other news, Rapchat. So another app, and this one is from TechCrunch. It's Rapchat tunes into 2.3 million as its music-making app hits 7 million users. Article starts off, YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook's Instagram have upended the film and TV industries with a new wave of cinematographers, directors, and actors leveraging innovations in technology to create new work and connect directly with billions of consumers to see it. Today, a startup is announcing some funding as it looks to make a similar impact in the world of music. Rapchat, an app that lets people create music tracks, raps, as its name suggests, or something else, using a platform that crowdsources beats and lets people put vocals on top of them, has raised $2.3 million. This is co-led by Sony Music Entertainment and the VC firm Adjacent. This is an extension of Rapchat's seed round of $1.7 million back in 2018. And CEO and co-founder Seth Miller says it's coming to as the startup is getting ready for its bigger Series A. Okay, so there is no connection to Snapchat. Just want to make sure that is clear. What the company's going on saying, there's 7 million registered users, and at the moment, some 250,000 songs are being created around a catalog of about 100,000 beats by 500,000 active users on the platform each month. Engagement is hovering right now at 35 minutes per day on average, a mix not just of people making tunes, but through the beginnings of a social graph, people coming onto the app to discover and share those tracks. So what they're planning, this article goes into much detail, more detail about what their rollouts are, but I also want to just bring into the attention because they talk about other apps that are in this space, and maybe you've used them or have heard them. Another app is called Voicey, which had conceived of a similar idea, but focused primarily on letting people create and record shorter clips rather than full music tracks before sharing them to other platforms. It has not quite become the household name, but it did have some small success in bringing attention to new artists. And interestingly, it was quietly acquired by Snap last year. TikTok's parent ByteDance has also made an acquisition of another music creation app, JuteDeck. As with Snap's acquisition, so far it's not fully clear on how and where that acquisition is going, but they've heard through the grapevine that TikTok is working on a new music service that sounds like it might let more content get plugged into TikTok's music player. And perhaps the most trend-endorsing act of all, Rapchat has been cloned by Facebook, no less. NPE, the social networking's behemoth in-house Skunkworks team, in February rolled out Bars, that's BARS in all caps, which is, yes, an app on which you can create your own rap music. And so this is, again, once you're out there, it's Facebook, Google, all those other social companies going to be able to, and tech companies are going to be able to clone it. But when the Miller said, the CEO, he says, we were coming out of an age when everyone in college was using apps like Snapchat and Instagram. He said, we loved them for video, but saw there was nothing like them for creating music. So he pitched an idea during a startup weekend competition, snapping like Snapchat, but for rap. Someone said Rapchat, and we liked it. All right, so it's really interesting. It's going to be another way of creating and sharing music. I'm all for creation, and we'll just have to see how this rolls out. Again, if anybody has any thoughts on any of the topics at hand, feel free to raise your hand and join the stage. All right, this is from Music Tech. We're going to focus a little more on music tech today. This one is, we discussed it last week, and it's from musictech.net, and says Apple could be fined up to $27 billion for distorting music competition in music streaming market. All right, and they're saying it could be a $27 billion fine for allegedly violating EU antitrust laws and putting rival music streaming services as disadvantaged on its App Store. On Friday, April 30th, the European Commission announced that it took issue with the mandatory use of Apple's own in-app purchase mechanism imposed on third-party music streaming app developers to distribute their products. The company takes a 30% commission fee on all subscription bought via their in-app purchase system. Regulators were also concerned about alleged restrictions in place that prevent developers from informing customers of alternative, cheaper purchasing options. If found guilty, Apple could face a fine of up to 10% of its annual revenue, roughly $27 billion, based on its $4.5 billion earnings in 2020. Quote, our preliminary findings is that Apple is a gatekeeper to users of iPhones and iPads via the App Store, European Competition Commissioner Margaret Vestager said in a statement. Continuing, with Apple Music, Apple also competes with music streaming providers. By setting strict rules on the App Store that disadvantage competing music streaming services, Apple deprives users of cheaper music streaming choices and distorts competition. This is done by charging high commission fees on each transaction in the App Store for rivals and by forbidding them from informing their customers of alternative subscription options. This latest antitrust charge traces its origins to a formal complaint filed by Spotify in 2019. Spotify had reportedly withdrawn subscription purchases through its iPhone and iPad apps in 2016 in order to avoid Apple fees. Spotify CEO Dan Yak lauded the EU's stance on the matter. In a tweet on April 30th, said, today is a big day. Fairness is the key to competition. With the EU Commission statement of objections, we are one step closer to creating a level playing field, which is so important for the entire ecosystem of European developers. And Apple defended its position in a statement shared to TechCrunch. Quote, Spotify has become the largest music subscription service in the world, and we're proud for the role we played in that, the tech giant wrote. And they also say Spotify does not pay Apple any commission on over 99% of their subscribers and only pays a 15% commission on those remaining subscribers that they acquired through the App Store. At the core of this case is Spotify's demand that they should be able to advertise the alternative deals on their iOS apps, a practice that no store in the world allows. All right, so, really interesting. This is a battle that has been going on. If you have any thoughts on this, feel free to raise your hand and come on up to the stage. This is, Apple versus Epic we're hearing about. And, these type of challenges make it difficult for other companies to be able to, why is that playing? That wasn't supposed to play. That button was the wrong button there. Anyway, but that was from Music Tech. And again, these articles, you can find all the headlines in the show notes in musicindustrycity.com. Click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic, and that'll take you where you can find the show notes. The one thing I really got I saw this, the quote was, Spotify has become the largest music subscription service in the world, and we're proud of the role we played in that. And that's an Apple statement. And once again, it seems like Apple saved the music industry, and now it's because of Apple, Spotify is the largest music subscription service in the world. So, I wonder what Spotify is actually thinking about that in that sense. Continue with Apple. This one is from iLounge.com. Apple Music high fidelity plan to release let me start that over. Apple's Music high fidelity plan to release in coming weeks. That title actually isn't very clear. So what they're saying is Apple is planning to release a hi-fi music streaming plan in the near future. Reports hits Daily Double. It adds that close label sources have confirmed the existence of such a premium plan being released soon. To be precise, the blog says that the new Apple Music plan will be announced in coming weeks. The new upcoming top-tier plan will be reportedly cost $9.99 on a monthly basis, according to Hits Daily Double. The price point is the same as the current standard price being offered by Apple Music. The higher quality plan will likely offer a slightly or fully lossless audio quality, allowing users to listen to music as intended by creators. In addition, Spotify is also scheduled to release the hi-fi plan. The music streaming industry leader Spotify has already announced its plan to release a hi-fi music plan in the near future. The company says that its new high-fidelity music streaming plan will be released in the latter part of 2021. It has said that users will be able to, quote, upgrade their sound quality to Spotify hi-fi and listen to their favorite song the way artists intended. While Spotify continues to maintain a lead in the music streaming market, Apple Music has grown exponentially since its debut in 2015. While Spotify offers both free ad-supported subscription and ad-free premium subscription plans, Apple Music only offers premium subscription plans. The free plans by Spotify have enabled it to attract more users as compared to Apple Music. And Apple is scheduled to hold its annual developers conference, WWDC, in June. And the main keynote is scheduled for June 7th. And it is possible that the new high-fidelity music streaming service plan could be announced at the event. And also, the company is expected to announce the next versions of iOS, iPadOS, macOS, tvOS, and watchOS. So that's a lot of operating systems. So stick around and stay tuned for that. All right, we're going to change things up here. We are going to move from the tech side to just an interesting article that caught my attention. And this is from metalinjection.net. Headline reads, Catholic groups attempting to shut down, quote, Satanic college metal radio station, WSOU. Article starts off, legendary rock and metal station WSOU, broadcast from Seton Hall, has apparently become a problem all of a sudden for some Catholic groups. The groups recently protested the existence of the, quote, Satanic radio station, calling them to either change what they play or shut down completely. Richard Smaglick, the founder of the group Shut Down WSOU, said in an interview that Seton Hall is a Catholic university and should stop the station. Quote, this is a Catholic university. Catholic universities of America have lost track of their mission to an extreme. It's so bad that this Catholic university is airing Satanism to what they call a target audience of 12-year-olds in the largest media market in North America, and that needs to end. And so a spokesperson for Seton Hall said the university is always looking into the station, but didn't really offer much more. And, quote, WSOU's advisory board, comprised of WSOU students and alumni, along with Seton Hall University clergy and administrators, meet regularly to review the station's content and operating policies and standards. The goal is to ensure that WSOU continues to realize its mission goals and long-held operating procedures, further incorporating and integrating Catholic mission and ministry into WSOU's wide-ranging popular programming is always a priority. And just as a little side note, WSOU has been operating since 1986. Again, it's metal is bad. Metal is Satan. Satanism. That's what's going on here. That's we've heard this before. We've seen it in the 70s and the 80s. So, every decade we have to have, some little uproar about it, that metal is bad. And with that, let's head back into the tech side, because this one has to do with Facebook. And this is really, I kind of got a kick out of this one, and we'll see if this is going to happen. Facebook, so this is from appleinsider.com. It's called Facebook considers telling users enabling tracking keeps app free of charge. So Facebook is considering adding new screens for both its main app and Instagram to educate users that enabling tracking under Apple's App Tracking Transparency, the ATT policy, will, quote, help keep the apps free to use. Following the introduction of the ATT as part of the iOS 14.5 update, apps have been working to incorporate the system-level prompt request, with it being in some advertising-focused apps' best interest to convince users to continue allowing the app to track their device's IDFA tag for marketing purposes. It seems that Facebook is doing what it can to encourage users to do so. Example notifications spotted by researcher Ashkan Sultani on Saturday as part of the social network's explanation of rules updates show what Facebook is considering presenting to its users. The notices, which are depicted in both the Facebook app and Instagram, show the same text and form part of a notification designed to be shown before Apple's system-level ATT prompt. The text of the notifications explains the version iOS, quote, requires us to ask permission to track some data from this device to improve your ads. Learn how we limit use of this information if you don't turn on this setting. The screen continues while linking to a support page. The screen carries on by stating, quote, we use information about your activity received from other apps and websites to show you ads that are personalized, help keep Facebook free of charge, and support businesses that rely on ads to reach their customers. The screen then concludes with a continue button, presumably set up to summon the ATT permission dialog. The main problem with the notification as shown in the image is use of the phrase, quote, help keep Facebook free of charge, as it insinuates that Facebook could be forced to charge for access down the line. An earlier iteration of Facebook's notification screen does not include the free of charge line at all. All right, despite the issue, it seems that Facebook's screen follows all Apple's human interface guidelines regarding the tracking request. Apple does not allow pre-alert screen to be used to convince users to turn it on, but forbids it from being used to, quote, withhold functionality or content, nor to offer outright incentives. Facebook's notification screen goes along with Apple's rule list, including the use of a single button marked continue to move the user onto a prompt. It's unclear if Facebook is actually using the notifications presented to users, but the level of work that went into the screen, as well as adhering to Apple's guidelines, make it seem likely to be used at some point. So if we don't allow tracking, are they going to force us to eventually eventually have to pay for Facebook or pay for Instagram? That would be very interesting. I'm sure they'll bring up those tweets or posts by Zuck when he said we will never charge for Facebook. And on the other hand, the tracking, I know some people that have turned off their tracking, and they complain that the ads that they are served up are like absolutely terrible, have no relevance. So is it one of those things that it's what's the lesser of two, quote unquote, I guess you can say, evils? Is saying that, okay, we'll allow for ad tracking so you get my data, and that you're going to be getting ads that serve that at least are in your orbit, or take the chance of just turning it off and they're just going to serve you. And I'm sure we've all seen like just terrible sponsored ads of just crap. So the lesser of two evils. Anybody have any thoughts on this? And feel free to raise your hand and come on up. All right, we have some updates in New York City. All right, and this one is New York City to loosen pandemic restrictions for bars and restaurants starting today. Great news. All right, New York City is loosening restrictions today as more preparations are made to fully reopen in 2 months. Starting today, people will be able to sit at the actual bar in the restaurant and bar industry, something that has been off limits for months. The state is loosening up even more restrictions as the city prepares to reopen by July 1st, which means everything will go back to running in full capacity. Indoor dining will expand to 75% by Friday, May 7th, so even more people will be able to eat inside. Then, on May 17th, outdoor dining curfews will end across the state, which means customers will be able to stay past midnight at their favorite bars and restaurants. The indoor dining curfew will also end on May 31st. Governor Andrew Cuomo announced the 1 a.m. curfew for catered events where guests have proof of vaccination or a recent negative test will be lifted on May 17th. The curfew for all catered events will be lifted on May 31st. Many more restrictions will be loosened up as the cities and states say they're making huge progress in getting people vaccinated, and those who are planning to have a catered event at home now have been given the green light to host larger parties as long as people are continuing to follow health and safety guidelines. The state's residential gathering limit of 10 people indoors and 25 people outdoors And also, about 80,000 city workers are expected to return to the office today after hundreds of employees worked from home. So that's a great thing. I know some people that have worked for the city, and they are saying that they're being called back to the office, but it could be just for 1 to 3 days, and they're breaking it up, so they're staggering people, so it's not a full office. But this is always starting to sound good. All right, moving on. Let's talk a little about Clubhouse since we're here. Is that cool with everybody? This one is in thenextweb.com. And for all us, I guess you can say Clubhouse elitists, the floodgates are going to open up for the other platforms. So Clubhouse finally begins testing an Android version, but is it too late? And the article starts off, Clubhouse is finally testing an Android version of its popular live audio app. In an announcement, the company said that it's trying out this version with, quote, a handful of friendly testers. This means the app is currently in a closed beta, so you can't sign up to try it just yet, with more users to be included in the coming weeks. After launching in March last year, the iOS-only app became a sensation because it had an invite system to make people feel special and a new style of real-time audio interaction with no recording features. But since then, every company on the planet has launched some form of live audio product across platforms. You look at the list of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Spotify, Reddit, Discord, Telegram, and Instagram. That includes almost all social networking heavyweights spanning billions of users across different verticals. Because of this onslaught of real-time voice conversation products, Clubhouse's appeal has faded a bit. Recent data from analytics firm Sensor Tower suggests that in March, Clubhouse downloads plunged by 72% as compared to the previous month. And as someone who spends a few hours a week on the platform, I've heard many people say that the app has become a bit boring. That is from the writer of this article on the Next Web. It continues, some folks from the current Clubhouse community like the exclusive nature of the app and might not like that Android users are coming onto the platform. But honestly, they don't have to worry, as it'll most likely only be a teeny tiny fraction of Android's massive user base. And the writer goes on to say, I'm willing to bet we'll see the same initial rush to download the app on Android as we first saw with iOS. But those new users will also run into the same challenges of creating and discovering interesting sessions. And finally, the writer says, I am intrigued to see what tricks Clubhouse has up its sleeve to improve discovery to woo Android users and keep its impressive growth intact. Let the live audio battle royale begin. All right, they're coming. And for people that, don't like text messaging others with green bubbles, they're coming. They're on their way. All right.
I guess you just can't escape, can you? You can never escape.
No, you can't. You can't get away. Hey,
Wayne, you can't get away. No matter how hard you try, you just can't.
Hey, Wayne, you have a really interesting, slap delay on you.
I do?
Yeah, you going through an effects processor?
Hold on 1 second.
Oh, wait, no, that was me.
I just
Never
went
mind.
into another room. Okay, no,
yeah.
I had, there was another phone. My wife had her phone in the room too, so I think I was just too close. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I think it was also something on my end here. I was just hearing a little thing. So, but
okay.
Yeah, get ready for the invasion of the androids.
No.
Right on.
All right. God.
All right. So this one, we are going to move over to, let's talk about England. And England holds an experimental music fest to test whether such events spread COVID-19. All right, and this comes on the heels of the Barcelona test, where after they retested after 15 days after that 5,000 attendee indoor concert, they were not socially distanced, but they did wear masks during that event. What the results they stated was that they had no contact. Nobody contracted from the event. They said 6 people tested positive 2 weeks later. 4 they could 100% rule out did not contract COVID from the event. And then there were 2 that they were like, yeah, they didn't contract COVID from there as well. So in this article, it starts off, live music returned to the birthplace of the Beatles after a long coronavirus-enforced silence on Sunday when the English city of Liverpool hosted a one-off music festival to test whether such events spread the virus. So the key points here is around 5,000 people attended the festival that lasted 6 hours. Concert goers had to have tested negative to COVID-19 and were given entry on the proviso that they would be tested again 5 days later. Performers included local singer Zuzu, indie group The Lathimas, and headliners Blossoms. All right, so this full article reads, around 5,000 people ditched face coverings and social distancing rules in the name of science and music. So I just want to be clear, the one that was done in Barcelona, they were wearing face masks. This one, this was open range. All right, so they said they attended the outdoor event having tested negative for COVID-19 and promised to get themselves tested again 5 days after the festival. Their data would be used by the government's events research program to help understand the effects of crowds on the spread of the virus. Sunday's lineup in purpose-built tent consisted of 3 acts. And, quote, you don't want to go back and it happens and then something happens, we'd have to go back. Do you know what I mean? 10 steps, said Joe Donovan, member of the Blossoms. And go on, yeah, we waited this long now. I think if they said, I think at one point I'd have been willing to wait till next year if they could have guaranteed we'd be back. So, we're not in any rush to open it too fast. I think it's better to do it like Joe said in the way that we're doing it now, said his fellow bandmate. The festival is part 2 of the experiment. Around 3,000 revelers aged 18 to 20 packed together without masks in a warehouse rave on the docks of Liverpool on Friday night. The scientific side of the event seemed to be far from the midst of the festival goers as they danced through the gates of Sefton Park for part 2. All right, so, and what they're saying is, lasting less than 6 hours with the 10 p.m. curfew, the festival is a far cry from the multi-day hedonism of bigger events like Glastonbury, but those attending said there was nowhere else they'd rather be. Under current restrictions in England, a maximum of 6 people are allowed to meet outside, with the next step to increase that to 30 people coming May 17th. All right, and if anybody has some thoughts on this, we are starting to wrap up the music reads. And if you want to come up, if I didn't invite you on up to the stage, feel free to raise your hand. I've been reading. Eli has the day off today and tomorrow, so I can't read and invite people up. I mean, I can barely walk and chew gum. So please feel free to raise your hand if there's any topics that you also want to bring to the table. And what is a day without a Spotify update? And that is how we're going to wrap up the first half of the reads. And this one is in Gadget, and it is called Locker Room Will Relaunch as Spotify Green Room. When Spotify recently bought Locker Room and developer Betty Labs to power its Clubhouse competitor, the company said it would eventually relaunch the app under a new name to reflect its more inclusive focus better. That name will be Spotify Green Room, CEO Daniel Ek announced the rebranding during the latest episode of the company's For the Record podcast. With seemingly every tech company, including Twitter and Facebook, moving into the live audio space, Ek also spoke to exactly why that's happening. Quote, just like stories with video where every major platform has them as one way for its audience to communicate with each other, I see live audio similarly, he said. He continued, I expect all of the platforms to have it. As for how X sees Green Room standing out in a sea of Clubhouse clones, he said Spotify's creator network would be its competitive edge. The company has spent millions inking people like Joe Rogan, Bruce Springsteen, and former President Barack Obama to exclusive podcast deals. It's also spent a lot to acquire networks like Gimlet Media and Parcast. He also pointed to Spotify's user base, which grew 11 million in the last 3 months to pass the 356 million mark. And that is going to wrap up the news read section. If there's anybody up on the stage that has any thoughts, and if there is anybody that wants to come on up and bring anything to the table or have a reaction, talk about any of the articles that we covered, feel free to raise your hand. And if you wanted to see the articles that we covered, you can go to musicindustriescity.com, click on the Clubhouse Information Center graphic, and that'll take you to a link to the show notes where we have everything in a Google Doc just for you. And we keep this update, we keep rolling it throughout the week, so when we get to the Friday week in review. And also, if you want to find out more, musicindustriescity.com, you can register there for free. We send out our weekly schedule. We do the music news daily, Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. We also have a Good Day music room from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern. And we do plenty of stuff outside of the club. So there are plenty of opportunities. We do networking. We have a metaverse. We do shows in VR. And we also have a lot of the live streaming programs like the Monday Kickoff Motivate and Create, which is on our video live platforms starting at 2 p.m. Eastern today. Destiny, hey, welcome. Happy Monday. Welcome to the stage. Was there, I saw you raised your hand. Was there something you wanted to talk about?
Yes, hey, but I didn't want to skip my turn, so I know there's been other people on stage if they want to speak before me. Anybody?
I think you're good to go.
Okay, cool. So yeah, the one that I wanted to, and I'm on like the website right now because I think I missed some of the articles in the beginning, but what I wanted to react to was the thing with like what is it with is it Apple Music, where they're now under this investigation about kind of blocking the other streaming apps. Like I think that's super interesting. Very interesting. So I look forward to following that and seeing like how that pans out.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see that some of these, because the U.S. has different regulations than the European Commission, and we have our antitrust laws and all that, and the epic there we see the epic battle with Apple and Spotify brought this to the attention back in 2019. Sometimes we see lawsuits being pushed through in Europe before even the U.S. That could be for a multitude of reasons, and we've seen a lot, with antitrust and anti-competition in Europe, that they seem to sometimes be a little stronger enforcing the anti-competition rules. So this will be very interesting to see that if it's something that if it's a ruling there, does that translate to to be able to trickle over to the states for a different filing? If anybody has any experience on understanding how everything works in that, feel free to jump onto the stage.
Yeah, I have two more things I want to say, but once again, I want to leave room for other people to
Well,
talk.
let's run the room. Wayne, Victoria, Melody, was there anything that in particular you wanted to jump in about? You had a question or a thought or something to bring to the table? Or are we good to
Hey,
let?
not at the moment. I'm still
Okay.
kind of processing everything.
There was a lot.
Hey Peter, I just wanted to say I hope the reopening in New York goes well. It seems a little concerning to me that they would want to, increase the capacity of establishments so rapidly, so I mean, just so quickly. But I hope that goes well, and I hope that we don't see a spike in cases because of the reopening.
Right. I
Yeah.
wonder. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they're looking at others. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not. I'm not really wondering. It's more, what are they looking at when it comes to the other states that have opened up in the last month? That Texas says we're open for business, and other areas and different states that have loosened restrictions more. So I'm sure they're looking at that data to say, well, if there has been a bump, has it been a little bump? Is it a speed bump? Is it a spike? And they're taking that into
Right.
consideration. I'm not. I don't think they're just coming up and saying, "All right, May 17th looks good."
Yeah, right, right. Well, it's just interesting. I mean, just speaking about New York City in particular, I mean, everything is so close together. people are just like they're
Hmm.
forced to be. You're almost forced to be in crowds because there's just there's not really a good way to get away from people. So I don't know. I just hope that it goes well, and especially because there are people that are like very against getting the vaccine,
Hmm.
and there's just a lot of like misinformation that we're still having to deal with in this country. And so anyway, I just hope it goes as good as they think it will.
Yeah, it's really yeah. You can't compare like New York
It's
to
interesting.
yeah. You can't compare New York to like North Dakota, and New York
No.
City. It's like in the dense. And you're correct because I mean, take Brooklyn. It's the most populous per capita in the United States per landmass, I believe.
Oh,
And
Brooklyn?
yeah, it's the most
Even more
populous.
than Manhattan? That's interesting.
Yeah, no, Brooklyn has more per landmass, and
Wow.
and the thing is that like what are these other states? So if we even go to Texas and like, okay, what's their largest city? Dallas. Well, it's still spread out. It's not Manhattan
It's so spread out.
where we
Everything
are
in Texas
literally
is
on
spread
top of
out.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Texas is so spread out. I mean, you can't go 2 feet. I'm from Texas originally. You can't go 2 feet without being in a parking lot that's like half a mile long. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. We stack our parking lots on top of each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm also a native New Yorker and I've been here all my life, and I don't see myself like, participating in the restaurants. Like, it's just, I don't feel safe at all. But I'm also one of those ones who hasn't got the vaccine yet and is going to wait until like it's absolutely necessary or something like that. So I'll be in my house just enjoying life until then. But yeah, and I was talking to my friend over the weekend, and like I said, I've been here all my life. I've been on the bus, but I have yet to go on the train or down in the subway, and I'm not even a germaphobe, but just to think about, life, and I probably have PTSD about this pandemic. I saw a room about that this weekend and it made me think, but like, just to think about how carefree I was and we all were before this pandemic, about what we touched and where we sat and all of that, and just to think about how many people really live in the city. It's just like I can't even put myself in that situation right now. But that's just me.
I mean, we had people like in the past years walk around with hand sanitizers and going on the subway, but now is that just going to be a complete commonality? I didn't read the article. I remember coming across something that said even after the pandemic is done, some people feel they're still going to wear masks. Like, we might see it become more
Yeah,
normal that people will still wear masks, say in the winter during flu season, cold and flu season. Maybe on the subways, people wear masks and it won't be shunned upon. I mean, of course, there's going to be people that will shun it because people are shunning wearing a mask now during a pandemic. But
absolutely.
but the fact is, it's like, maybe you're going to see that become normal. I mean, if you look at, China and you see images year round of people wearing masks. Now that's for different air quality and for other reasons, but that's kind of it's more of a normalized there. Maybe that's going to be something changing here in large cities with public transportation.
That would make sense. I mean, I guess the way I see it for myself is like, so I already got the first shot last Thursday, so I'm happy about that. But so I guess the way I see it is if I get the vaccine, when I get my second shot, I think I'll feel comfortable just, kind of doing whatever I want. But I definitely think that, once I get to where I'm going to be for a long time, like, if I go back home or if I go to a friend's house or, something like that, I'm definitely going to make it a point to wash my hands, like, as soon as I get there. I don't know if I'll wear masks year round. Maybe in the winter sometimes. I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. But definitely, I think I'll be washing my hands more often still. I think that's going to be the big one for me.
Yeah, washing your hands is just important any
Just
all
in
year
general.
round. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome,
Yeah.
Linda, and Jamie is on her way up. Jamie just walked onto the stage. Linda, see you raise your hand. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, hi.
Good to see you.
Hi everyone. Monday. Thanks for bringing me up to the stage. As I was just listening to the last person talking, I was looking up some information about Texas and the percentage that's vaccinated versus New York. And they're almost similar, except that, oh, my dog is squeaking her toy. Sorry about that. The percentage in New York is about 34% fully vaccinated versus 30% in Texas, and about 8 million in New York to 5 million, I think, in Texas. So we're a little bit ahead of Texas. So I think that's interesting, but I also think that it's also not that far apart. You know, they're claiming about a third fully vaccinated in each state. So it'll be interesting to see how these two states proceed as we open up things more and more. That's it.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, Texas has, I think, about 10 million more people than New York, but it's also a lot bigger. A lot more spread out. JB, good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Yeah, I gotta say, I take issue with someone not wanting to get the shot because my brother-in-law didn't get it. He got COVID, and he made my 10-year-old nephew an asymptomatic carrier. And I think it's selfish for the people around you for you not to get the vaccine. I can't sit by and not say anything about it. I don't think it's personal choice. I think it's, take care of your fellow man.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I guess the only, thing I would, say is, like, if you had, a conversation with your doctor and you had some sort of, immunocompromise already, and it was ruled out that maybe you would have a reaction to the vaccine, then I guess I could understand that.
Don't have that complicated a reason.
Yeah,
They think there's
right.
like a microchip in it, which is bullshit.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah, that's so weird. It makes no sense.
Or they're like, I don't see anybody. It's not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal.
You're going to have to leave your house at some point. You've got to go to the grocery store. You've got to go, you've got to go to the bank. You've got to, you can't just stay in your house forever.
Yeah, I've been vaccinated, for a little while because I take care of my elderly mother. And, I would not bring disease back to my mother just because I was selfish and didn't want to get a shot. I don't know. I can't sit by and, gloss over it.
And Jamie, and on top of that, people are saying it's the second dose, that second shot is the one where they're getting the reactions.
It was fine.
It was fine, but that's because the second shot is the one that has the microchip in it. So that's why some people are reacting a little bit more. Yeah, because it takes a little while for the microchip to
right. The aliens have to be able to find them.
It needs to fuse with it needs to fuse with your nervous system and everything. So
Dang it! I thought I already had 5G antennas in my body already. You mean I have to wait till the next one?
I'll take a microchip if I'm not endangering everyone I come in contact with. That's fine with me. And, that and the Grammy thing, by the way.
Let's talk the Grammy thing.
Because, what?
What's stupid? What part do you think is stupid?
They always, even though they had these secret, groups or whatever, they never got the rock stuff right anyway. So frankly, it's get people that know the genres and lay out some parameters for people who vote on rock stuff and don't know anything about it. Because that's just nonsense. It's been nonsense for years. They even took away some rock categories. I mean, hard rock doesn't exist anymore, according to them now.
And the other is and this ties in, I'm going to bring it back into the fact of why viewership is also down, because, the cool categories are going away. It's not attracting audience. And even if there is a cool category, it's not during the main program. They'll announce categories or remixes or other things during the pre-show, and you can't find it. Nobody knows where to tune in. And for the most part, people also don't tune in because, they're cord cutters. So they don't subscribe to CBS All Access, whatever that fucking plan is. Just add it to the list of streaming services you have to subscribe to just to see anything and everything anymore. But the fact is, yeah, it's the cool categories that's what the younger generation wants to see, but it's always just catered to the elder statesmen of the group. And so many of these people, I remember I was in an office, not saying names, but I heard Tempest Fugit coming out of the office, and I walk in, I'm like, why are you listening to Yes circa 1980, the worst version of Yes? Because I was a huge Yes fan. And he said, it's like, oh, well, I have to vote, so I want to listen. I'm listening through all the music. And he played Yes for like an hour or so. So it's like, or maybe it was Rock Hall of Fame or something. I forget if it was Grammys or Rock Hall of Fame. I forgot exactly what it was. But, the fact is, like, this person took their time because they weren't familiar with the artist and said, I'm going to listen. I'm going to take the time out, and I'm really going to, when I vote based on the fact that I have put in the effort and I have listened to the music. That is certainly not the case with these committees. And that's one of the things that they were talking about, saying instead of having 15 categories you can vote on 10, the ones that you know most about, instead of just writing in, well, I don't really know all these, but I know that name, so I'm just going to tick that box.
Right, and that's what they do. I mean, I predicted Slipknot were going to win the year they won because they were the most visible. That was it. It wasn't like for any other reason that the old people that don't know rock had heard about them from their grandchildren or something.
Yeah. And that goes back to, the infamous Jethro Tull. Was Jamie, I think you just broke up. Was that?
Oh no, I didn't say anything. My shaking my fist at the sky and yelling at people to get off my lawn period is over.
All right, on. All right, let's. We're going to wrap up because this is the Music News Power Hour. We have just about 2 minutes left, so thank you everybody for tuning in. We do this every Monday through Friday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. This is also live stream, so if you are at Music Industry City, you can go to YouTube, Music Industry City. You can go to Facebook. You can find me on Twitch. That's Peter Schwing. And also musicindustrycity.com. You can find all the show notes, which has the links to the articles that we cover. That's musicindustrycity.com. Click on the Clubhouse Information Center, and we keep a running list of all the articles that we covered during the week. So when we get to Friday, it's the Friday Week in Review, and we can bring up that big roundtable. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And also, if you want to find out more about the other programming with Music Industry City, you can register at Music Industry City for free and just sign up, and we'll send out those emails to you. Final thoughts, really quick. Let's run the room. We got a minute and a half left. Wayne, any final thoughts, or if there's something that you're thinking of, you've been watching in the news that we should be paying attention to?
I guess not really. I just wanted to say thank you for hosting these. This is just really, it's always really informative, and it's good to keep the discussion going. So thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Victoria?
Nothing at the moment. Sorry, I've been bouncing both a slew of emails at work as well as trying to catch up on reading through the articles.
Right on. Destiny?
Yeah, same thing Wayne said. I look forward to keeping track on the Grammy situation and what Apple is going through, and also real quick, Spotify with the hi-fi higher quality and audio listening is going to be, they're already dominating the competition with Tidal, but that's kind of the only reason why I use Tidal. But yeah, anyway, have a great day.
Thank you, Destiny. Great. Always great to see you. Linda?
I'm just going to wish everybody a happy Monday, and let's keep our fingers crossed that all these concert experiments show some really good results. That's what I'm looking for.
That's what I like to hear. What a great way to wrap it up. And thank you, Linda, Wayne, Victoria, Destiny, and everybody else for tuning in. We really appreciate you stopping by. And we are going to be back tomorrow. So have an awesome day. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.